You're out on a nice walk with your dog, everything's going great, and then they stop. And they start munching on the lawn like it's some kind of gourmet salad bar. It's a super common thing, but it leaves most of us just kind of scratching our heads. So today, we're going to dig into this very green, very canine mystery.
So, what is actually going on here? I mean, we know our dogs are carnivores. They're descended from hunters. Grass definitely isn't on their normal menu. Is it some ancient instinct? A sign that they're feeling sick? Or could it be something else entirely? Let's find out.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll look at just how common this habit really is. Then, we're going to tackle that famous, or maybe infamous, vomit theory. After that, we'll explore the real reasons, check out the potential risks in your own backyard, and wrap up with what you as an owner can actually do about it.
All right, first up, a puzzling canine habit. And honestly, it's probably way more common than you think. If you see your dog doing this, trust me, you are in very, very good company. It might feel like a weird little quirk, but it's one of the most common things vets get asked about.
In fact, get this. One study found that a whopping 79% of dogs with regular access to grass and other plants had been seen eating them. Just think about that for a second. That's nearly 4 out of every 5 dogs. This isn't some rare thing, it's practically a normal canine pastime.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Vets and animal behaviorists all pretty much agree that, yeah, eating grass is a normal dog behavior. But, and this is a big but, even though it's so common, there isn't one single scientifically proven reason for it. We're talking about a genuine mystery here, filled with a lot of theories instead of hard facts.
Okay, let's jump into the biggest theory out there, the one you've probably heard a million times. It's the idea that dogs eat grass on purpose to make themselves throw up when they have an upset stomach.
This is the go-to explanation for most of us, right? You see the grass eating, you kind of brace for the cleanup later, and you just figure, oh, he's trying to get something out of his system. It makes sense, almost like they're self-medicating. But does the science actually back this up?
Well, here's the first major hole in that theory. Studies show that less than a quarter of dogs actually vomit after eating grass. The vast majority of the time, for more than 75% of dogs, that green snack just stays down. That right there pretty much goes against the whole idea that they're doing it to get sick.
And here's the real kicker. Researchers also found that fewer than 10% of dogs even show any signs of being sick before they start munching on grass. So, if they're not sick beforehand, and they're usually not vomiting afterward, it's pretty safe to say the vomit theory just doesn't hold much water. We need some better explanations.
Okay, so if we can pretty much toss out the vomit theory, what are the real reasons dogs do this? Well, the explanations are fascinating, and they range from ancient evolutionary instincts all the way to plain and simple boredom.
You know, there's actually a technical term for eating non-food stuff like grass. It's called pica. Now, that might sound like a serious medical condition, but in this context, for most dogs, it's just considered a behavioral quirk. It doesn't necessarily mean anything is wrong.
Now, one of the strongest theories actually goes way back to their wild ancestors. Think about wolves and other wild canids. They eat their prey whole, and that includes the plant-filled stomach and intestines of whatever they caught. That was a key source of fiber and nutrients for them. So the theory is that our modern dogs, who mostly eat processed kibble, might just be acting on an ancient instinct to get more of that roughage into their diet.
So, just to recap the physical theories, it could be that ancestral instinct we just talked about, a simple need for more fiber to help with digestion, or maybe they're trying to supplement a nutrient they're missing. There's actually a famous case study of a miniature poodle that ate grass like crazy for 7 years. The moment its owners switched it to a high-fiber diet, the behavior stopped, just like that.
But what if it's not physical at all? What if it's all in their head? It could be something as simple as boredom. You know, a dog left in a yard with nothing else to do might just start chewing on whatever's available. Or maybe they've learned it gets them attention because you always react. Or, you know, maybe the simplest answer is the right one. They just like the taste and the texture.
Okay, so we've established it's a normal behavior. But that leads to a really important question. Is it safe? Because the danger isn't usually the grass itself, it's what might be hiding on it.
Yeah, that lawn might look perfectly green and clean, but it can hide some pretty serious dangers. Think about pesticides or herbicides. Those can be toxic if your dog ingests them.
The grass could also be contaminated with droppings from other animals, which can transmit nasty intestinal parasites like roundworms and hookworms. And even worse, it could carry dangerous viruses like parvovirus, which is a huge risk for puppies.
So, considering those risks, what can you actually do about this habit? And, maybe more importantly, when does this normal behavior cross the line into something you should call the vet about?
A really great approach starts with their food bowl. Make sure their diet is complete and balanced, and maybe even look into higher fiber options. At the same time, you can tackle the boredom factor with more exercise or some fun puzzle toys. Then you can work on training a really solid leave it command. And finally, just try to make your walks more engaging so that you're way more interesting than the grass.
Now this is really important. While a little bit of grazing is usually fine, you should definitely call your vet if you see any of these red flags. If the grass eating becomes obsessive, like they can't stop, if they are regularly vomiting after they eat it, if they stop eating their normal dog food, or if they just seem lethargic, unwell, or not like their usual self. Any of those could be a sign of a more serious, underlying issue.
So the next time you see your dog grazing, you can ask yourself, what kind of grass eater do I have? Are they a gourmet grazer, driven by some deep, ancient instinct? A bored botanist who's just looking for something to do? Or maybe they're just a simple canine connoisseur who happens to enjoy the taste? The real answer is probably a unique mix for every single dog, but now you know exactly what to look for.
And as always, please remember, this explainer is for educational purposes only. It is absolutely no substitute for professional veterinary advice. If you have any real concerns about your pet's health or their behavior, your first and best call should always be to a certified veterinarian who knows you and your pet.